Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The blade pressed against my throat was cold, but the ice spreading through my veins was colder. 7 days. The man snarled, his eyes the color of a stormy sea, practically glowing in the dim alleyway light. You have 7 days to return what you stole, or I will carve it out of your chest myself. My name is Julian Vane, a lowly appraiser of cursed antiques, and currently, the unfortunate vessel of the sanguine frost, a magical anomaly I had clumsily inhaled not 10 minutes ago. The man holding the knife against my jugular was Lord Cassian Blackwood, the city's most feared warlock and the rightful owner of the curse now eating my heart. He didn't look like a savior. He looked like an executioner who enjoyed his work a little too much. I didn't steal it. I choked out, my breath pluming in the sudden, unnatural drop in temperature. I tripped. Cassian's lip curled in disgust, though he didn't lower the blade. You tripped into a Class A containment ward? You clumsy, insignificant little thief. Do you have any idea what you've done? Killing me won't get it back. I gasped, my vision blurring as a tremor shook my limbs. The frost was moving fast. You need a living vessel. Cassian paused. The logic held, however much he hated it. He sheathed the dagger with a fluid, terrifying grace and grabbed my chin, forcing me to look up at him. His touch burned against my freezing skin. 7 days, he repeated, his voice dropping to a dangerous, baritone purr. The extraction ritual requires full resonance. Until the 14th of February, you belong to me. If you run, you freeze. If you fight, you shatter. Try not to die of incompetence before I get my property back. Day 1, the cage. The Blackwood estate was less a home and more a mausoleum for the living. It was a sprawling, Gothic monstrosity of black marble and velvet drapes, perched on the cliffs overlooking the churning ocean. I was unceremoniously dumped into the guest wing, if one could call a room with bars on the windows a guest room. Make yourself comfortable, Cassian said, leaning against the doorframe. He had removed his heavy trench coat, revealing a tailored waistcoat that accentuated the broad expanse of his shoulders and the dangerous taper of his waist. But not too comfortable. You're merely the packaging. Is that all I am to you? I asked, rubbing my chest. The ache was a dull throb now, a constant reminder of the clock ticking down. A Tupperware container for your magic? The sanguine frost is ancient sorcery, Julian. It feeds on emotions. Passion, rage, despair. It amplifies them until the host burns out or freezes over. Cassian walked closer, invading my personal space. The air crackled with static. Right now it is dormant. But as the days pass, it will seek to merge with you. We must begin the resonance immediately. Resonance. I stepped back, hitting the edge of the four-poster bed. You mentioned that in the alley. What does it entail? Cassian's smile was sharp, devoid of warmth. Proximity. The magic knows my signature. I must overwrite your spiritual footprint with my own. Essentially, I have to contaminate your soul so the frost thinks you are me. He placed a hand on the wall beside my head, trapping me. It is an intimate process. Unpleasant for you. Tedious for me. And if I refuse, then you turn into an ice statue by Valentine's Day, and I smash you with a hammer to retrieve the core. The choice is yours. I looked into his eyes, searching for a bluff. I found none. Only an ancient, weary darkness. Fine, I whispered. Do your worst. Day 3, the fever. The process was agonizing. It wasn't sexual, not yet, but it was invasive. Cassian spent hours holding my hands, his forehead pressed against mine, chanting in a language that sounded like grinding stones. I could feel his magic pouring into me, a heavy, suffocating sludge that battled the icy spikes of the frost. By the third evening, the strain was breaking me. I lay on the velvet rug in front of the fireplace in Cassian's study, shivering violently. The fire was roaring, but I couldn't feel the heat. My eyelashes were heavy with rime. It's not working, I chattered, my teeth clacking together. I'm too cold. Cassian looked up from his grimoire. For the first time, the mask of arrogance slipped, revealing a flicker of concern. Not for me, surely, but for his prize. The rejection rate is higher than anticipated, he muttered, closing the book with a snap. He stood and crossed the room, towering over me. Your will is stubborn, Julian. You are fighting my signature. I'm not. Trying to, I groaned, curling into a ball. I don't want to disappear. Cashin knelt. He touched my cheek. His fingers felt like branding irons. If you don't let me in, you will disappear anyway. He hesitated, a rare moment of uncertainty for a man who commanded demons. Then, with a sigh of resignation, he pulled me up and into his lap. What are you doing? I weakly protested. Body heat is a conductor, he stated clinically, though his heartbeat against my ear was rapid. And the resonance is stronger with skin contact. He unbuttoned my shirt, exposing my chest. Spiderwebs of blue frost traced my ribs, converging over my heart. Cashin stripped off his own shirt, pressing his bare, hot skin against my freezing torso. The shock made me gasp. It was fire and ice colliding. I instinctively tried to pull away, but his arms were bands of steel, locking me against him. Stay still, he commanded, his voice rough. Breathe with me. I buried my face in the crook of his neck, inhaling the scent of sandalwood and ozone. Slowly, the shivering subsided. The invasive feeling of his magic shifted. It stopped feeling like an attack and started feeling like an anchor. Better, he asked, his chin resting on top of my head. Warmer, I admitted softly. We stayed like that for hours, the fire dying down to embers. The silence between us changed texture. It wasn't hostile anymore. It was heavy, charged with something I was too afraid to name. Why do you need the frost? I asked, my voice slurred with sleepiness. You're powerful enough without it. Cashin's hand, which had been rubbing soothing circles on my back, stilled. Power isn't the goal, Julian. Leverage is. There are things in this world older than me, and they are hungry. The frost is insurance. You have enemies? He let out a dry, humorless laugh. I have only enemies. And now, by proximity, so do you. Day 5, the intruder. He wasn't joking about the enemies. On the 5th day, the wards around the Blackwood estate shattered. I was in the library, trying to distract myself from the looming deadline, when the windows exploded inward. Glass shards rained down like diamonds. Before I could react, shadows coalesced into human forms, mercenaries clad in tactical gear woven with spell-nullifying runes. Grab the vessel, one shouted. I scrambled back, throwing a heavy bust of Play-Doh at the nearest attacker. It connected with a satisfying crunch, but 2 more were on me instantly. They didn't use magic. They used brute force, pinning me to the floor. One of them produced a syringe filled with a glowing green liquid. Suppressant, the man grunted. Knock him out before the warlock gets here. The needle pierced my neck. My vision swam. Then, the room went dark. Not the darkness of lights going out, but the darkness of a void opening up. Cashin stood in the doorway. He wasn't the elegant aristocrat anymore. He was a nightmare wreathed in shadows. His eyes were no longer sea green. They were entirely black. You dare, Cashin's voice echoed from everywhere at once. Touch what is mine. He didn't cast a spell. He simply clenched his fist. The mercenaries screamed as the shadows on the floor rose up like pikes, impaling them. It was brutal, efficient, and terrifying. The man holding me was ripped away by an unseen force and thrown through the wall, literally through the brickwork. Cashin stepped over the bodies, his gaze locking onto me. He fell to his knees, checking my pulse, his darkness retracting like a recalled tide. Julian, he snapped, tapping my cheek. Look at me. I'm awake. I mumbled, the drug making my tongue heavy. You killed them. I would burn the world to ash before I let them take you, he growled. Because of the frost? I asked, a tear leaking out of my eye. Cashin froze. He looked at the carnage around us, then back at me. His hand trembled slightly as he brushed a stray hair from my forehead. It started that way, he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. But I fear. The resonance has worked too well. Day 6, the realization. The attack had accelerated the curse. The trauma had spiked my emotions, feeding the frost. By the evening of the 6th day, my skin was pale as porcelain, and my breath misted constantly, even in the heated bedroom. Cashin wouldn't leave my side. He paced the room, looking haggard. He hadn't slept in 2 days. There is a problem, he said finally, stopping at the foot of the bed where I lay under a mountain of quilts. I'm dying. No. You're merging. He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect style. The frost has accepted you. It's no longer a foreign object. It's becoming part of your heart. If I extract it tomorrow, the trauma will likely kill you. The silence that followed was deafening. So, I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. You get your weapon, and I become collateral damage. That was always the deal, Cashin. It was the deal when you were a stranger, he shouted, startling me. He gripped the bedpost, the wood groaning under his strength. It was the deal when you were just a thief in an alley. You are not that anymore. What am I then? Cashin moved with supernatural speed, climbing onto the bed and straddling my hips, careful not to crush me. He loomed over me, his expression tortured. You are the only thing in this godforsaken century that has made me feel warm, he confessed. The resonance goes both ways, Julian. You feel my magic? I feel your emotions. Your loneliness. Your fear. Your desire. My breath hitched. You feel that. Every second. He leaned down, his lips inches from mine. I can't kill you, Julian. I won't. But if you don't extract it by tomorrow night, the curse becomes permanent. I'll be frozen. A living statue. There is a third option, Cashin whispered. A binding vow. If we share the burden. If I tie my life force to yours permanently, I can stabilize the frost. You keep the power, but I feed it my energy so it doesn't consume you. That would weaken you, I argued. You'd be vulnerable. You said you have enemies. Let them come, he murmured, his gaze dropping to my lips. I'd rather fight the world with one hand than live in it without you. Why? I asked, tears freezing on my cheeks. Why would you do that for me? Because, he closed the distance, his lips brushing mine. I think I've been waiting for you a lot longer than 7 days. Day 7, Valentine's night. The deadline arrived with a snowstorm. The world outside was white, mirroring the ice in my blood. We stood in the center of the ritual circle painted on the ballroom floor. Candles flickered, casting long, dancing shadows. The clock struck 11. 1 hour left. Are you sure? I asked, my hands trembling in his. Cashin looked impeccable in a black suit, but his eyes were soft. I have never been more sure. Do you trust me? Yes. And I meant it. Then give me everything. He kissed me. It wasn't like the gentle touches before. This was a collision of souls. I felt the walls of my mind dissolve. I felt Cashin's power, vast, ancient, and terrifying, flood into me. But it didn't hurt. It wrapped around the shard of ice in my heart, melting the jagged edges, turning the curse into a battery. I saw his memories. Centuries of isolation. The cold calculation of survival. And then, a burst of color, me. Tripping in the alley. Arguing in the library. Sleeping by the fire. I gasped into his mouth as the bond snapped into place. It was a golden chain connecting our sternums, visible only to us. The clock chimed midnight. Valentine's Day. The freezing cold vanished, replaced by a hum of power that thrummed beneath my skin. I wasn't just human anymore. I was something else. Something belonging to Cashin Blackwood. I pulled back, panting, my legs giving out. Cashin caught me effortlessly, holding me close. Did it work? I whispered, looking down at my hands. The blue veins were gone. Cashin smirked, the arrogance returning, but tempered with affection. He lifted my hand to his lips and kissed the knuckles. The frost is stable. You are alive. And unfortunately for you, you are now irrevocably bound to an immortal warlock. Sounds like a terrible deal. I joked weakly, leaning my head on his shoulder. Read the fine print next time, he murmured, sweeping me up into a bridal carry. Now let's go to bed. We have an eternity to discuss the terms of your surrender. As he carried me out of the ballroom, leaving the shattered remnants of the ritual behind, I knew the danger wasn't over. His enemies would return. The world would try to tear us apart. But as I listened to the steady beat of his heart, a rhythm now synced perfectly with mine, I knew we would face it together. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Julian melt the heart of the Ice King, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you accept an eternity of danger if it meant being with your soulmate? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then, prompt image. Prompt. Masterpiece, best quality, high-res, 1.2. Korean manhwa style, semi-realistic, digital art. 2 men, BL, Yaoi, man 1. Tall, dominant, piercing sea green eyes, black hair slightly messy, wearing unbuttoned black dress shirt, vampire-like elegance, holding the other man protectively. Man 2, slightly shorter, slender, pale skin with subtle blue frost patterns on neck, messy brown hair, wearing oversized white shirt falling off shoulder, looking up with trust and vulnerability. Background is a dark, gothic bedroom with a roaring fireplace, velvet bedding, magical glowing runes floating in the air, dramatic chiaroscuro lighting, warm firelight contrasting with blue magical aura, cinematic composition, emotional intimacy, intricate details.